The Educate to Innovate project is unique because it aims at developing and sustaining female food entrepreneurs across Europe. The motivation for the project came about because of the gross underrepresentation of females in the agri-food sector across Europe, and to develop training to develop female food entrepreneurs. The project is funded by the Erasmus Plus KA2 call and focuses on developing training aimed specifically at females using unique methodology such as peer-led training and mentorship. The project also supports vet educators in the delivery of female-specific entrepreneurial training, providing resources and tools to help them overcome the barriers that are associated specifically with females in the agri-food sector. Here at GMIT, we've piloted this unique type of training, and we're delighted through this project to be able to roll it out across Europe to ensure that the training meets the needs of our learners, females in the agri-food sector.
This type of training has a number of benefits for the learners involved. The fact that the training is peer-led and in a practical work environment allows the learners to engage and to learn from entrepreneurs that have already set up the food business. It exposes them to the challenges and the opportunities that entrepreneurs face in this sector. It allows them to become an entrepreneur in a very safe environment. On completing a course and training like this, the female food entrepreneur will have a sound business plan and will be ready to take the next steps into launching her business. We have a number of female food entrepreneurs that have launched successful businesses after completing the pilot study here at GMIT.
I thought the mentoring session was fantastic and invaluable. I've learned the importance of conversation, sharing ideas and merging interests. I never really wanted this course to end.
The peer-led training and encouraging environment gave me the confidence and boost I needed to bring Cookalicious to life as a female food entrepreneur.
We are going to be moving on to our next panel shortly now, and this one is, I suppose, one that a lot of people are going to be incredibly interested in. We're going to be moving on to talk about how to build your brand or your presence online, and we have a number of different insights with regards to this. Just before we do get on to that, we're just sharing one of our active polls at the moment with regards to what you're finding from the group. So what golden nugget have you taken from Panellist? So we see agility and flexibility are coming up as two key words, and yes, persistence, of course, persistence. Having passion and just going for it is something as well. And yes, of course, it is absolutely okay to have a doubt, but it's great to see the positivity leaping off the page there and taking a leap and going for it. So we're going to now move into our second panel this morning, and I'd like to invite our panelists on screen, if that's okay, please. Might give me a nod there, someone in my ear, when we can see her. And so great. So our first speaker that I can see on screen at the moment is no stranger to us in GMIT for sure. One of our amazing food producers here in the west of Ireland, and also owner of Arms Marketing and Training, Aisling Flanagan of Velvet Cloud. Aisling, you're very welcome to the panel this morning. I don't know, I can only see Aisling on the screen at the moment, so I'm just going to keep talking until everyone appears. Good morning, Amanda Finch. Amanda runs Nutrition Social and is also a health information manager with a leading charity, Nutrition Social UK. And Amanda will introduce herself to us all shortly. And I'm hoping that I have Samantha Kelly
I'm
going
here.
to appear. Great,
I don't know. I'm just not on the stage. That's all.
I'm here. Okay, we can hear you, and we'll see you shortly. So we have Samantha Kelly, known to most people in Ireland as the tweeting goddess. Samantha is a Twitter expert. She's an author and a founder of Women's Inspire Network. And again, I think you can do yourself justice better than I can, Sam, when you come on in a moment. And we also have Imen McDonnell. Imen is an author and a member of the Foodguild in Ireland, food stylist and photographer. So really delighted to welcome you all and to get some insights into how some of you have built your online presence, and advice from everything from styling, food photography, how to how to brand yourself online, and more importantly, to assess which online platforms are best for you. Because we mentioned in the last panel, you know, that you can't be all things to all people. I think that's often the case sometimes with social media platforms, and it can become very overwhelming for many people. They're like, oh, I have to be on LinkedIn, I have to be on Instagram, I have to be on Facebook, and I have to be on Twitter, and so on. And I hate Twitter because, and I hate this because, and there's all of these kind of questions and so on. So Aisling, I'm going to start with you because you're going to give us perhaps two perspectives. First of all, you're an artisan food producer, but you're also a marketeer also. So maybe if you can give us a little bit of an overview, and we have 30 minutes, ladies, so I'll go around and get a little bit of insight, and then we'll come in with a few questions as we go, if that's okay. Thank you, Aisling.
Okay, so as Jacinta said, on our farm here in County Mayo, we produce sheep's milk, yogurt and cheese. And our customer pre-pandemic would have been the chef, the high-end chef, and they would have been identifying Velvet Cloud on their menus. And then also the consumer who was interested in cooking, but also a consumer who felt they might have sensitivities to cow dairy or digestive challenges. And while we would have been quite active on social media to build our brand, we weren't selling online. When the pandemic hit overnight, we lost 50% of turnover. So when you're a small business and we're relatively new, that's really devastating from a cash flow point of view. That can actually put you under. So it was panic stations in March of last year. And our son, who does computer science, had always been saying to us, you really should try selling online just to see. But we would have thought a chilled product would be very challenging to sell online, and who'd want to, but needs must. So we threw up very quickly an online site. And it exploded during March and April, but again, everything was a bit strange then, so we weren't reading a huge amount into that. But from a marketeer's point of view, what I have found really fascinating, and why I'm now sort of really converted to the whole land of e-commerce or world of e-commerce, is you could measure everything. So previously in marketing, and when I'm teaching marketing and brand building and all of that, it's fine if you're Coke and you're Nike and you have agencies that you can pay to measure brand awareness and tracking ads and all that. But if you're Velvet Cloud or any of the small artisan businesses that may be on this call, you don't have the money to track the effectiveness of your activities. However, when you're working online and selling online, there's an awful lot you can measure. And I suppose that's what I have found really fascinating. So we still use social media very much for brand building and to some extent for sales. But what we're finding very powerful on our online shop is email marketing. So if we're doing campaigns, or if we collect recipes from consumers, and that's what we love. We've built up a community now at this stage that we get an awful lot of, again, it's a marketing term, but user-generated content. Both chefs and consumers love posting what they're doing with Velvet Cloud. And that's massive for us, because then we can repurpose that and amplify it, again, more marketing jargon, but send it out to other people and give them inspiration. So we're building and I have learned so much in the last year myself, what's called a content strategy. So we now create content. It's very funny, myself and Sam, we now made it last year on a very few virtual calls together. We've never physically met, but I feel like I know Sam, because at the very beginning, and I still remember there was a week when we launched on Twitter 5 years ago, Sam retweeted it just as a supportive female in business. And it was huge because she's a massive following. And ever since then, she's been supporting us. I try to support and tweet her stuff as well. And that's what it's all about. But just back quickly to because I know we're limited to time. For me, if anybody's thinking of particularly selling online, I think content strategy is really important. In other words, creating things your customers are interested in. So in our case, it's recipes. Yes, they want the odd discount, and remind me, Jacinta, to come back to that in a minute. But they're much more interested in not you hard selling to them, but giving them recipes or giving them the story. People love to hear about the business and the farm and what's happening this season. And then they love things like recipes. And if you do that and you constantly are in communication with them with interesting content, you actually build this tribe around you, and then they buy from you. You don't have to go, please buy, please buy. So I've learned all of that, and then I'm learning analytics. I mean, we used to get up in the morning and milk sheep. Now I get up in the morning and turn on Google Analytics, see who has arrived on my site from where. We look at the analytics on our website. If people are interested, they can contact me later and I'll tell them what software we use for emails and all of that. But we look at who's opened our emails and what percentage of this email was opened versus that email. So I suppose, yeah, marketeers' point of view, the analytics is massive and you can now measure. And then from an artisan food producer's point of view, just massive learning curve. I keep learning all the time. Every day, walking the dogs, I have a podcast on, listening to the latest guru on, all of this type of thing.
Well, Aisling, even though you turn on Google Analytics first thing, you still have time to send your good morning Mayo message with the sheep in it. So I think we all look forward to that on a dreary morning during lockdown. The sheep and the lambs bounding around the fields. But that aspect of content, I suppose, is really important. And that leads me over to you, Imen, because your Instagram feed in particular is just amazing. The content, the photographs, if you even didn't read anything underneath it, there was a story in your Instagram, and that's something for me that's just really powerful. Can you just maybe explain to people, a little bit about what you do in general, and also the importance of the content for anyone in business?
Okay, thank you so much for having me, Jacinta.
Delighted.
A long-time fan of yours and everyone actually on here.
Thank you.
So I'm living on a farm in the middle of the West Limerick countryside near the Shannon Estuary, and I landed here from the States in 2007. So I guess before that, obviously social media wasn't even around, but I guess why I'm saying that is that I basically use social media to build up very organically a life here, I suppose. I mean, friends and a life, and with sharing about food and farm life and all the stories, kind of building kind of a network of not only, I suppose, friends, but just a sense of security and understanding the new country that I was living in. It was really, really important to me. I mean, when you guys asked me to do this, I was thinking, gosh, do I really know how to help people build their online presence? Because for me, it came so organically and out of a necessity, rather than at first trying to sell a brand or a product. But as time went on and I sort of grew as social media grew, I'm a verified user now on Instagram and Twitter, and I have like 50,000 followers and stuff like that. And I think you're right. I think that what people really gravitate towards is, it's not just putting up a pretty picture of food, it's the story behind it, it's the human. I always like to think of, years ago I worked in advertising, so maybe there's something to do with that, but the kind of the ethos of the agency was always do something that is simple, human, and surprising. And I think you can't lose when you use those, especially the surprising bit, because that's the tricky one to get when you have an audience that is maybe not just in Ireland, but abroad. Like, what's a little bit surprising if you live in Ireland, but what's also surprising if you live in Asia. So I don't know, I'm not sure.
No, but I think that point that you just made there is really important when you said, well, it just started organically for me, and what have I got to offer? But I think, truth be known, most artisan businesses start like that. They're organic and they're organically grown, rather. And I suppose one of the things that I often hear from a lot of businesses, and Aisling, you alluded to it as well, is that, when somebody comes and they start a business, they're usually a one-man job or a one-woman job. They don't have the financial person, they don't have a marketeer, they don't have hands on deck, they just don't have a team of people. And so, and one of those questions just came in there on the poll, how do you balance everything, in terms of, it can be quite overwhelming, as I said at the start, to manage content. And I know Sam will come to this shortly. You'd often hear people saying, well, I don't have time to be tweeting, and I don't have time to be taking photographs, or sure, I have to dig the spuds, and sure, I'm not going to be able to do all of this. So what advice would you give, Imen, to people on that?
You know what? I mean, like, I'm actually starting a new business too coming up. So I'm going to be looking at it in a more strategic manner than I ever have been, but it takes time. I mean, you literally have to decide, because I'm farming as well, and I'm also a food photographer and stylist, and I'll take, I'm freelancing in every possible job I can do. So but it is really important. It's probably why I don't post as much as I used to, because I don't have the time. But when you do post, it's so important, I think, to be considered about it. And if you can, I mean, I know it's hard when you're scrambling and you're trying to sell products, but I just think it's really important, if you can't do it, to get someone that can, who really can post through your voice and your vision. But it's a considered approach. And I do have like some specific tips on food photography and stuff that we can talk about later. But yeah,
we
take the
come back to a
time.
few of those, because those, I think people would love to hear some of that advice as well. Somebody who takes horrendous photographs and puts them on, I'm definitely interested in hearing how to make my food look more amazing.
No.
like anyone needs to know. But Samantha, we'll move over to you because I suppose you've been advising people around social media, in particular Twitter, for a very long time, very successfully. You've also come from an entrepreneurial background yourself, and you work with empowering female entrepreneurs the world over. So give us your nuggets, tell us all about it. How do we make Twitter more manageable? We just unmute you there, Sam.
Yeah, that would help, wouldn't it? Hi guys, hi everybody, and lovely to be here. And lovely to listen to the other ladies. Honestly, it's really inspiring, because I know it's a bit of a cliche, it's really inspiring, but it is, like, this has been a tough year for a lot of people. And the fact that we're still here and we're actually helping others by sharing our experience, it helps those people not to make the mistakes we made, for example. And it was great listening to Suzanne, who said, just go for it. And she's so right. I quoted it there on Twitter. And by the way, everyone, I am tracking the hashtag. So if you want to end up on a trending hashtag, everybody use the hashtag nurture her. It would be lovely for the organizers if you trend it. So let's all put some tweets out, and Emma's smiling at me there. And let's put some tweets out and quote some of the things that the women are saying, and Suzanne, well done. I loved listening to what you said there. Yeah, and Imen as well. For me as well, I understand totally. I did mine all organically, and it was that need myself to connect with others that got me on Twitter. It was my need for me. I was feeling isolated and I was feeling lonely. And that's why I started the Women's Inspire Network. So if you can't find what you're looking for, I couldn't find the right network. I just didn't fit into those other networks. And I said, I'll just create my own one. So I created my own one, which was more laid back, more artists, more food producers, more creatives. So it wasn't just, your accountant or your solicitor, not that, I have loads of accountants and solicitors in my network as well, but, I just wanted something different. So if you can't find what you're looking for, create it. And I think Suzanne did that. She couldn't find the frozen yogurt, so she so that's how things happen, and that's how great ideas come about. Twitter, because I know I'm here to talk about Twitter. I could talk about female entrepreneurs and how great they are all day, but Twitter is so powerful, because you have decision makers and CEOs on Twitter. You have people who are you have a higher demographic, like would be age 35 to 55. The highest growing demographic on Twitter are the over 55s. You have a lot of people in the farming community, food producers, chefs. You have a lot of those people that are ready to hear your story, are ready. I love Velvet Cloud. It stands out a mile away from a lot of Twitter accounts because of that good morning from Mayo. And you do look forward to it, and Aisling has done such a super job with that. And I'm always happy to retweet people, and we do it for each other, and that's what it's about. It's about us helping the organizers today by using the hashtag on Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, do you need to be there? Maybe you don't need to be there. Maybe your audience aren't there. But if you're in the food producing business, I think they are there. And I'm sure Aisling will attest to that. Chefs are there, restaurant owners are there, decision makers are there. It's like LinkedIn's living room. Twitter is, because you have all of those people on LinkedIn that are also corporates, potential sponsors, for example, they are there. I don't know if you saw Chad Byrne, who started his food truck, and I helped him, I guided him on how to do the crowdfunding campaign. He raised 20,000 in a day, because he already had the personality, he already had the brand advocates, he already had the audience, and people wanted to help. So don't underestimate the power of you. You are the product, you are the brand. If it wasn't for Aisling Velvet Cloud wouldn't do so well, I don't think. You know, like people buy from people.
Yeah.
People join my Women's Inspire Network, not necessarily because of the Women's Inspire Network, but because I am there, and it means they get access to me. And I'm not bragging, I'm just saying that, like, I do help a lot of people, and Aisling will tell you that. But when you have a group of people, women and men, by the way, there are great men out there doing amazing things. But for women, we have something special. We have that empathy. We have that compassion. We understand what it's like. My teenager's in the other room, for example, and I'm feeling guilty because I'm sitting here and it's sunshine outside, and she should be outside. She doesn't want to be outside. She wants to be on her phone, you know, and all these little things that go through our heads. So it's about being real. But Twitter in particular, what works really well at the moment is hope. If you can give hope to people, like Aisling with her little videos helped a lot of people through the pandemic. Me walking the dogs on the beach helped a lot of people through the pandemic. You have no idea how much hope can make a difference to people. Hope, compassion, helping others, and sales. Why don't you just try the yogurt? Try it and see if you like it. I still have to do that, Aisling. I will get back to you. I will do that. But, you know, try it and see. You know, see if you like it. You know, buy from small business owners as opposed to the big guys. And that's what it's about. But Twitter in particular, share value, share your knowledge, add value, follow people like me and like Imen. And, you know, we only met on Twitter. Is it Imen? Sorry, what's
Imen.
Imen. As in amen, amen. Okay, great. But yeah, we just connected on Twitter today, for example. And now I feel there might be a nice connection there. So, you know, this is about making the connections, adding value. When you add value, people will do your marketing for you, exactly like what Aisling said. Get your community, build a community around your brand, and then get them to do your marketing for you. And that's what they're doing.
Samantha, I think that's really important, you know, in terms of, and I just want to address a couple of the questions coming in here, in terms of authenticity is something that's really, really essential on any social media platform. People smell a rat a mile off, even online, and people will know if you're not being authentic. And you know, being authentic and being true is just so important, even if it is, you know, the burnt cake that you're posting or whatever it might be, but it's you being authentic, you know. And I think that's something that it comes across. Samantha, a couple of the questions coming in there, and Amanda, we'll be coming to you shortly now, is, you know, what's right to post, where do you start, what to tag, what not to tag, that type of questioning coming in as well.
Okay, so what to post? Post your product, post behind the scenes, post the team, post, look, even a sunset is still something that's to do with your business or where you are located. Like, I know Aisling's in Mayo straight away. You know, I mean, everyone knows I'm in Rosslare Harbour because I use the hashtag Rosslare Harbour all the time. You know, so what was the other question? How do you tag? Well, it is good etiquette to just tag people you're already in a relationship with or you're already spoken to. But you can tag, I wouldn't bother tagging some of the bigger guys, if you know what I mean, because they just, I don't know, they have agencies run their accounts. I don't know what it is, but they just don't retweet or they're not allowed or something. Okay. So tag the other business owners that understand you and get you and already support you. If you're a member of Women's Inspire Network, by the way, if you tag me or Women's Inspire Network, we retweet anyone who's a member. But, you know, they're the little kind of perks. But like for, what else was the other thing you asked? How to post, what to post?
Yeah, when to tag, when not to tag, and what's right to post. Which I think you've addressed those.
I'll tell you what, when you're going to do a tweet, right? A good thing to do is think this. Okay, write this down. Number one, is this tweet going to help someone learn something new today? Is this tweet going to inspire or give hope? Is this tweet going to entertain? Is this tweet going to spark a positive conversation? And the last one would be, is this tweet going to make someone's day? And it could be me giving a shout out. Like I did a little Imen, I did a little tweet about her and what she just said on Twitter. And so that surprises and delights my audience, you know.
Super. That's fantastic and great advice, Sam. We'll be coming back shortly. And again, for those of you that are on this panel, I hope you'll be able to drop into the breakout rooms shortly as well for people to ask some specific questions, which I think everyone would welcome. Amanda, not last but not least, for sure. Tell us a little bit about your journey, particularly with regards to socials and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. So after my business degree, I went and worked in a media agency for 4 years or so, and I loved it. but I knew it wasn't where my passions lay. So I retrained as a nutritionist. And from there, exactly as the rest of the ladies have been saying, I felt that gap of where is my network and where are the people that are, where's my tribe, where are my crew. So I then realized that, again, from that, there also wasn't a lot of people in the nutrition industry or public health industry that perhaps had that background in marketing and social media that I had. And it was from there that I created Nutrition Social. I built up a personal nutrition Instagram and following. And as Imen said, that was just me kind of exploring, the networks. And now Nutrition Social is me looking at it from a much more strategic point of view, being able to look at it from, through a business lens, not through just me wanting to network and meet other people, which I still do through the platform, of course. And the main thing I talk to a lot of my clients and other nutritionists about is to not forget that, all of these social platforms, they're social networks, and to not forget the networking section of it, because for me, that has been the biggest thing that's helped me in my business, and just to feel comfortable and confident on the platform, being able to meet other people who are in a similar position to me, or are looking for help with their Instagram specifically, or just social content or strategy or anything like that. It's just been an invaluable tool, being on social media and being able to connect with people in so many different ways.
No, and I think that's very true, that whole connection aspect, and you do. I mean, I think I have made so many friends initially through Twitter, I have to say, and the food community. Samantha's absolutely right. The food community is on Twitter big time. But what I found in recent months, I suppose a lot of the food community has also gravitated to Instagram. The same people are on Instagram, because I suppose there is maybe less engagement in terms of you don't have to engage in the chat and the banter and sometimes the negativity that can come out on some of the socials, particularly Twitter and Facebook at times. But I think you can ignore all of that and engage or not engage. And I think if you're in the right networks, you won't have that anyway. And I think that's something that people need to be afraid, because some people are genuinely concerned about getting into that whole like spat with somebody online, when I see stuff coming up at times, even on my feed. I saw something at the weekend around food education, and it really, I swear I was kind of going, oh, I had to shut it off. I said, because if I get into this now, I'm going to be getting myself into hot water. So, it's like if you're sitting in a room and somebody said something to you, just, let it over your head, because otherwise you're going to be fighting with a lot of different people. But I think certainly, I know you've all mentioned Twitter and Instagram in particular. Do any of you have any thoughts on Facebook now? Or I suppose Facebook works in a different marketplace as well, I guess. And I think one of the questions coming in, and I don't know maybe who wants to answer this, is that, where do you draw the line, or how do you decide which is the best platform for you? Samantha?
The best platform is where your audience are. So it's about testing, finding out, okay, well, where are my sales? It's like Aisling said, when you have an online thing, you can actually track where the sales coming from. And if the sales are coming, let's say the sales are coming from Instagram, well then, yes, focus more on Instagram. Choose like one platform that you are really good at, but also that where your audience are. I mean, you might be brilliant on Instagram, but your audience might not be there, so there's TikTok as well, don't forget. So a decision needs to be made. Where are you going to focus your time? I made a decision years ago that Twitter was where I was going to focus. And thank God I did, because now I'm only one, there's not many Twitter experts. Okay. So choose your platform, choose where your sales are coming from, where your audience are. And, maybe you might have to do a few different posts on different platforms. And don't forget LinkedIn, everybody. I mean, I went to Julie. I don't know if Julia's here, the lady who has the food truck. Definitely, if she wants any help there. I mean, look, LinkedIn is important too, because that's where you're going to get a lot of decision makers. So do have it filled in, your profile, your picture, your website, all of that. But Focus where your audience are.
You know, that's something we advise students all the time about, you know, building their professional profile early on on LinkedIn, and having a professional photograph as opposed to a selfie. It is, you know, sometimes you do have to invest a little bit in having the right photograph, and, you know, a few things like that are really, really important in terms of, you know, the message you're trying to portray. There's a question here that's coming in terms of any tips on not repeating yourself across platforms, i.e., I suppose synced messaging between Facebook and Instagram and so on. Aisling, did you want to respond to that?
Yeah, it's kind of leading on from what Sam has said. You have to talk to your audience in the way the network supports. So how you speak on LinkedIn is quite professional, because that's what's happening on LinkedIn. It's a professional network. Whereas how you speak on Instagram is much more visual, and it's more positive, it's more inspiring, versus how you speak on Twitter. So it's back to who your audience is. So for example, for Velvet Cloud, we'd have about 60% of our social media traffic would still come from Facebook. It's not actually that surprising when we think about it, because our audience tends to maybe have digestive issues. So they might just be, it's a generalization, but they might just be that little bit older. Whereas I'm guessing Suzanne's smoothie yogurt might be a bit more funky, a bit more trendy. She'll possibly get more coming from Instagram. So it'll be different from everybody. And then I just go back to the email marketing piece. That's been shown study after study to be even more important from a return on sales point of view. So if you are selling online and you're building up the whole time your database, that's going to be vitally important, because you own that. You own that list of emails. You don't own what happens on Instagram and Facebook. And they may, and we've all seen, they've changed the algorithm and made it really difficult to organically reach your community. And other things, Jacinta, I might just, if I can, because normally if this was an on-site conference, I'd bring samples, Samantha, so finally you'd be able to actually taste the yogurt. So I'm going to do today as an analytical exercise, absolutely no pressure. I'm going to put a code, it's going to be nurture, into the chat here, and anybody who wishes can buy it. I'll give a 50% discount off our taster variety pack, it's called, only if you want to. And it's a learning exercise for me. Don't be clapping me there. It's me being as interested in if this would work at all or not, because I used to be able to bring all these pots of yogurt and spread the love. Now I can't. So
and we used to love seeing you come with your big baskets of yogurt.
So it's unfortunately it's horses for courses, but yes, change your conversation depending on what network you're in, because you would do that anyway if you were going on site to different network.
Okay, ladies, we have 2 minutes to wrap, so I'm going to maybe just get one wrap comment from each of you, one very quick nugget of advice. Imen first, then Amanda, and then maybe Sam to wrap.
Okay, I think I'll just go with because we were sort of talking about food shots. That wasn't my whole plan, but I will say, I mean, if anybody wants any quick tips about how to make your food products, packaging look beautiful on some of these platforms, overhead shots always get, for me, I think they always get the most attention. If you can do that, something with a simple setup, using the rule of thirds, where there's the same equal amount of product or food in each part of your frame, the rule of thirds. Lightroom food presets, the Lightroom app. Gosh, I don't know. There's so much to say about all this. Thank you so much for having me. I mean, I've loads of things I could say, but
I think a very specific, and it's something we might explore in September when we come back, certainly, because as you know, I run one of these events every year with Sally McKenna for the women in the Irish food scene. And you know, there's always lots of questions around content, and maybe we did a food photography one with Clodagh, your partner in Lens and Larder, some time ago, or Cleana, sorry, beg your pardon. Clodag's the next speaker, with Cleana, and people found it really valuable to learn how to take a photograph properly and so on. So we'll definitely come back to that, and thank you so much, Imen. And Amanda, from you, any nuggets?
I would say to everyone on Instagram specifically, but I think it applies to all social networks, is to get out of that place of fear of putting yourself out there and just do it, because the sooner you start, the more comfortable you'll get, the better your content will be, and the more traction you'll get. So just start doing it. Don't worry about what, you know, everyone worries about what's so-and-so going to say, or how's that going to come across. Just say what you need to say. Say it clearly, say it well, and it will be a success.
Really good advice. That's the authenticity message again, isn't it? Very good, Amanda. And Samantha, to wrap up from yourself.
It's more of a general life thing. Don't take criticism from anyone you would never go to for advice.
That's really great advice. Love it. I think that's one that we'll have to be sitting back on. Must think about that a little bit more. Ladies, thank you so much. Aisling, Imen, Amanda and Samantha, that has been really practical advice for everybody. And I know we could sit here for another couple of hours talking about this, but maybe hopefully in the breakout sessions, people might have an opportunity, if you're available, to stay on to go through a few more little direct questions with you. Thank you very, very much, and enjoy the rest of the morning.
Thank you.